This is a great tribute to a great man. As Dave mentioned, Rich was my brother-in-law, but he was my friend, and above all else, he was my hero. I looked up to him in so many ways. I'd like to say the church service this morning was fantastic. I know Kelly commented on it, and she really loved it. Chris and Toby hit a home run. She hit a home run. Thank you, Chrissy. She also stole most of my material. So I'd like to go down a couple of roads. I know there's most of Rich's buddies are football buddies. I was not a football player. I married into the family, so to speak. But I've been married to Rich's sister for 47 years, and I love her dearly. And we've had just some wonderful moments with Rich and Kelly and his daughters and Tyler and the whole family. And I'm going to reiterate one thing that Chrissy said this morning, and that is he was the proudest papa in the world. Absolutely the proudest papa in the world. He loved his grandchildren. I know he loved his friends too, but there was just a special thing going on with these grandchildren. It was really fun to be with him when he talked about it. Rich's life really encompassed so many people, his friends, his family, players, business associates, pretty much anybody he met. And those of us that were blessed to be within that circle, and it was a big circle in this man's life, those of us that were blessed to be in that circle were extremely fortunate. A lot of discussion today probably about Rich's accomplishments. There were many. I still think his greatest accomplishment is really giving us the rock-solid family that remains here. Wonderful, wonderful family, and I just love you guys dearly. So I'm not going to tell a football story. I'm going to tell a fishing story. Now, everybody here probably knows Rich as a football player, football coach, business associate, whatever. I got to really know Rich as a fishing partner. He loved to get out and fish. He loved to be outdoors, but he wasn't very good at it. And so he needed some help along the way. And so that was kind of our common bond, is that he loved to do it, and I loved to be with him and help him do it. But it was, I think, maybe the late 70s, he came up to visit us in Yamhill County. We lived in Newburgh. And Rich said, Kenny, I want to catch a steelhead. And I said, well, Rich, it's 10 o'clock in the morning. We can be on the river by noon if you want to do it. I've got everything we need. And he said, let's do it. So we threw some stuff in the truck and hooked it over the coast range and started fishing on the upper waters, the headwaters of the Nestucca River. And Rich really wanted to catch a steelhead. I mean, he was just gritting his teeth to catch a steelhead. So we tried 1 hole, 2 hole, 3 holes, some really good spots where normally we've had good luck there, and nothing happened, and I could see he was kind of losing confidence. And so we pulled into to a hole that had been very good to us. We'd caught a lot of fish in it over the years. And I said, Rich, this is where it's going to happen. The name of this hole is Guarantee Hole. Guarantee Hole. And I guarantee that you're going to catch your steelhead in this hole. So we hooked it down to the river, and there was the river had a small rapid, a little slot where the fish usually sat in, and then it kind of flowed out into a real big hole, and then the river disappeared around the corner into another rapid. And I said, Rich, put it up just above the slot and let the bait drop into that slot, and I think good things will happen. And he goes, I do believe that. I do believe that. So, first cast in the tree. Okay, come on, Ray, let's retie and we'll get you going again. Second cast over the river and onto the bank on the other side. So, come on, Rich, you can do it. You know, just be the bait. So, Rich put the perfect cast right up into the back end of the rapid. Bait goes down into the slot. Boom. He hooks a steelhead, and with that rod up in his hands, he turned to me and he started yelling, I believe, I believe. But the story didn't end there. He thought it was going to end there. That fish jumped once and hoofed it downstream through the hole into the next rapid and around the corner. And Rich said, he's standing there kind of petrified. He said, what do I do? I said, run! Run, Rich! So Rich it was pretty narrow and there wasn't a lot of bank there. He got in the river and started sprinting downstream with the rod in his hand and trying to get line back because that fish had about 75 yards out. And I've never seen it. You got to picture this man, 6'3", long legs. He's had shorts on. He fell 2 or 3 times, got out. But he could move. He could move. And I couldn't catch him. I finally did. I came around the corner and Rich had actually brought that fish to the bank, no net. Poor fish was just tired as heck. I didn't know what he was into. And I'll never let go of this picture. I came around the corner and Rich picked that fish up out of the river. And he kind of looked like that, with holding the fish up. His legs were bleeding. And he said, Kenny, he said, can you believe this? Can you believe this? And I know many of you have heard him say that. That was one of his favorite lines. Anyway, that's Rich got his steelhead. We had a lot of other adventures down the road, but that has really stuck in my mind. It was just a great time. He was a very funny man. I think we all know that. Wherever he went, laughter went with him. I know when he was with my kids, they loved being around Uncle Rich, and they came to the conclusion that he was Chevy Chase before Chevy was. And you can see the resemblance. It's there. My kids idolized him. One of the things they learned was to avoid asking Uncle Rich the obvious question, like, Uncle Rich, would you like another beer? Because he usually answered with his own question, and the one that always sticks out in my mind is, does Howdy Doody have a wooden butt? Well, my daughter was maybe 5 at that time, and if you can imagine your daughter coming up and saying, Daddy, who is Howdy Doody? And why does he have a wooden butt? So anyway, thank you, Rich, for those moments. Chrissy this morning had so many qualities, and it just takes forever to list the qualities that Rich had. The thing that sticks out in my mind is that he was selfless, totally selfless. In all the years when we spent time together, I always tried to ask him about his football years. What happened? What did you do? And I can tell you that never once did he tell me that he caught a pass, that he executed a perfect block, or that he made a key or a great tackle. Never. I'm pretty sure he did. And I know there's some guys here that will probably say that he did and that he was a great player. But he was selfless. He would never talk about himself. I remember going to, when he was coaching at Marist High School, going to his title game I believe it was in 1973. Anyway, his Mariners team was playing at Civic Stadium in Portland, and they won that game. It was I can't remember the score, but it was a lot to a little, and it was a masterful game. I can just tell you, remembering that, and I'm sure there are people here that were at that game or played in that game. It was just a masterful game. The play calling was perfect. The game plan was exceptional, and the result was that he pretty much laid a coaching lesson on the guys on the other side of the field. And I asked him about that after the game. I said, Rich, incredible game plan, incredible play calling. His reply was, I just had better players. Just had better players. So there he was, probably the most selfless person I've ever met. He was so much to so many people. Dave, one other thing I was going to say. Barb and brother Ron and myself and Marilyn attended Mount McGill High School in California, Spring Valley, California, where Rich attended. And he was long gone. He was a Duck and an Oregonian while we were attending high school. But behind the gymnasium at Mount McGill High School, there was this gigantic board or plaque where they had all the record holders. And I remember as a freshman, this is probably 5 years after Rich had been out there. As a freshman, I looked up on the board and the record holder for the high jump was Rich Schwab. And when I was a senior, the record holder on the board was Rich Schwab. And I think the point is not, I look back on that, it's not that he was a great high jumper. It's that he set the bar very high for all of us. Set the bar very high. And I think what he would want us to do in the end is to honor him in his life by spreading kindness, sharing laughter, and loving our family and our friends, because that's what he did so well. Thank you.